Why do living creatures love to disagree? It feels like it's in our nature to never be on the same side. It's possibly due to preferences, experiences, intellect or personality, but regardless, it's sometimes very entertaining. But entertaining when your life is not at risk. And that brings me to today's discussion of hot takes. And after going through Reddit and YouTube community post responses, it amazes me how differently each person indulges in media. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I only continued to read the first book of TBATE because of this picture right here. Another one would be that I thought Regis was pretty annoying when we first met him. I figured that'd be the normal consensus, but to my surprise, everyone loved him. Rohit is probably his biggest fan. Shout out to him. So in light of that, let's start with Nico and Tess are annoying. For this, I completely understand half of it. Nico is a crybaby, a man-child who has held onto a misplaced grudge for 2 lives. He attacks first and listens second, and he's easy to manipulate, and this comes from a sense of insecurity and inferiority that he had to gray. Both grays. But there's still a spot available for him for his redemption, so for Nico's take, I agree. But for Tess, no. I usually don't tend to understand all the Tess hate. I feel like people want to treat her like Sakura from Naruto, but she's not as bad. Is she emotional? Hell yeah. Has she made dumb decisions? Oh, of course. Who in the TBATE universe hasn't? But the thing I feel Tess suffers from is a case of, if it were me, I wouldn't do this. But it's not you, is it? Like, people get mad about her decisions in the war, but when you think about it, it would be weird if she was level-headed in that whole situation. And what's even better for those in defense of Tess is that the characters in the world do not let her get away with her decisions. If she did dumb things and they got overlooked by everyone, then I would understand the rage. One other take on Tess was that she deserved to die after Aya bailed her out in the war. I feel like this deserves a good few minutes to defend Tess, but all I'll say is, we can't expect Tess to make decisions like Viren, who's lived for ages, or like Nico and Gray, who've had 2 lives under their belt, and even with those 2 lives they are still flawed. Or even like an Ashura whose strength can allow them to defy logic. But if you're mad that she tried to save her parents before they eventually died, that's a problem, dude. Tess suffers from unreasonable expectations from the reader, and it got even worse when Kara was introduced. Baron being a bad character. It was a Byron. And yet again, we have another take I can't get behind. Even from the beginning, when Baron was on bad terms with Arthur, he was not a bad character. He was always one that was set up to be more than his initial introduction. In regards to Baron, my hot take is that Lucas was only created for his development. I'm not gonna explain. Just think about those 2 and you see it. So for me who thinks that way, I can't see Baron being bad. He always had a strong sense of justice for someone who came up in a shady family. I could honestly chalk this up to people just hating characters who don't swoon over Arthur, but if you still hate him after the war started and even after him learning techniques from Arthur, then I guess there's nothing that can change your mind. Arthur being stronger than Lances before book 7. This is pure blasphemy. And this kind of hits differently because I had a video about Arthur versus Baron and people were convinced that Arthur would win. My biggest issue with how people scale Arthur is that once they hear Static Void, they think no one can beat him, which is far from true, and if anything, Uto proved that. Before fighting Uto, Arthur was at the mid-silver stage after Winsome gave him that boost around book 5. He then fought Varia, and despite how impressive he was, she was obviously not doing her best. At the end of book 6, he absorbs Uto's horns and finally broke into White Stage. Now here's where it gets interesting, because when you say Lance, the range of strength varies a lot, like a lot. So Alea is obviously the weakest and Varia is the strongest, but in between I think Aya's victory against the other Lances is dependent on the location, just as it was with Alfred. I think she's stronger than him regardless, so let me just rank them off the top of my head from weakest. So it goes Alea, Alfred, Micah, Baron, and Aya should be on the same level for now, and then Varia. It's a cop-out, yes, but I think either of those 3 beat Alfred and Alea, but for them to win against each other is circumstantial. Maybe I should do proper research and do a ranking video, would that be cool? Anyway, to answer the question, Arthur could beat Alea and Alfred after he beat Uto and before White Core, but he probably has a stalemate with the others and is only a match for Varia when he's proficient at the White Core stage, so like book 7's end. Mana Core Arthur is stronger. No. Just no, please. This is the same as the previous one. Realm Heart does not make him stronger than everyone, much less his ether using version. Let me put it this way. The ultimate stage of Realm Heart that Arthur reached was not going to be able to survive a full drawn out battle with Nico, the weakest side, hypothetically of course. Now Ether Core Art, who barely mastered Ether, and the runes one-shot Nico and took down Cadell in the same day. If there was any proof needed of which version is stronger, there it is. Arthur doesn't deserve a happy ending. I mean, it depends on what kind of happy ending we're talking. Man went from being a kid with women at his disposal to a baby, but director Cynthia could have helped him with that. To be honest, I don't think Arthur himself thinks he deserves to have a happy ending. His second chance at life didn't help him escape the past, and in some ways he still seems to be making similar mistakes. People around him always seem to be sacrificing themselves, so my hot take is that I agree. Arthur may have a tragic end, or maybe he becomes an actual deity. Who knows?
Ellie's POVs are boring and all there is boring.
I didn't know this was a thing, but apparently people hate a lot of the POVs, so to single out Ellie is kinda crazy. I don't think the POVs are as bad if you're reading the entire book as a whole, but if you wait weekly for the Patreon and the next title you see is Eleanor Lewin, I can see how that would be annoying. Aldair, on the other hand, is absolutely not boring. He's arguably one of the most interesting characters for me because in general I love great characters. Characters that you can see struggling to find the right path due to higher powers they deal with. He sort of reminds me from Isaac from Castlevania, so you just know that as soon as Aldair knows who he is and who he wants to be, nothing but the author can get in his way. Winsome is Aldair level. Maybe I haven't read enough yet, or I'm missing something, but I think they're interchangeable. But that's only currently though. Like I said, once Aldair stops handicapping himself, it's over. Volume 8 is good. Okay, I need to see where some of these come from because I didn't know Book 8 was an issue. I kinda like how Book 8 was. It felt like a new beginning after another end, and it helped sort of flesh out the world out of the view of Dicathin. As much as some people may not agree, Book 8 helps with the world building. And on that note, let me point out that speaking the same language does not equal bad world building. God forbid you say the world building is good on Reddit and you get hit with the "but they speak the same language." Book 8 also brought a new dynamic to how fights were in that world. The stakes are higher and it felt like a new training arc, which I loved. I thought he'd reached the pinnacle of mana, but it wasn't enough, and he had to change his destiny and start afresh, and to me that makes Book 8 slap so hard. Attractiveness wise, Sauritz is greater than human Arthur, but Arthur's race is greater than Saurit. Did I miss something? When did we see Saurit try to chat up a lady? What? I'm confused. I don't know what to think about that one. Arthur vs Jagret and the Battle of Slore was better than Arthur vs Uto and the events during and leading up. This one does have some validity to it, but personally I would disagree just because of the kind of battles I like. I don't like when fights get dragged on just because one person is having difficulty hitting the other, but then again it was pretty hype, but this is just mainly a preference kind of thing.
Arthur's Volume 7 cover outfit was better than the Jin armor, and it looks a little too much like Sung Jin Woo. The Book 7 cover is still the best cover of the series.
Oh, we got a bit of a 2-in-1 here. Yes, Volume 7's cover does look better to me than the Jin armor as well, so I can agree with that, but it's not the best cover of the series. That goes to Book 8. As far as the Jin armor looking like Sung Jin Woo, I guess I'm failing to see the resemblance. Wait, this? Oh, shit. Why would Kezis leave Agrona alive after knowing the truth? Indra is way worse than Agrona. Okay. These two Asura are most definitely evil, but to determine which is worse may be a bit deeper than we currently know, at least as of the end of Book 9. I will say that Indra falls more on the idealistic evil. That's evil that's quote justified and where they believe in a greater cause. Whereas Agrona falls under demonic evil or instrumental evil, being evil to achieve a goal or just being psychopathic. Maybe deep down Kezis didn't want to kill family, but genocide is kinda crazy. Anyway guys, there was quite a bit more, so if you want we could do another part 2 of this video, but for now that's it for me. Got a few other videos in the works, so just look out for those and I'll see you all next time. Bye.